أجمعين. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أراد الله بالأمير خيرا جعل له وزير صدق إن نسي ذكره وإن ذكر أعانه وإذا أراد الله به غير ذلك جعل له وزير سوء إن نسي لم يذكره وإن ذكر لم يعنه رواه أبو داود وابن حبان في صحيحه والنسائي ولفظه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من ولي منكم عملا فأراد الله به خيرا جعل له وزيرا صالحا إن نسي ذكره وإن ذكر أعانه. Al-Mu'mineen Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha narrated Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when Allah intends some good through a leader, Allah makes it available for him to have a truthful minister with him. So if he forgets, the minister reminds him of his obligations, and if he remembers, the minister will help him. And when Allah intends otherwise for a leader, then Allah makes available for him a bad minister. So if the leader forgets, the minister will not remind him, and if he remembers his obligations, the minister will not help him fulfill those obligations. One of the greatest burdens in any society lies on the shoulders of a leader. And that's why leadership is something that most people would avoid and refrain from, because the burden that comes with it is very, very heavy. And most people know and understand that they are likely not capable of carrying that burden and fulfilling that responsibility. Otherwise, the perks that come with leadership, they tend to be very attractive. They tend to be very appealing, and people are often attracted by those perks, and that's why they really want that job. They want the role of a leader, forgetting about the responsibilities that come with it and how important it is. I remember my teacher, Sheikh Mufti Rafi Uthmani rahmatullahi alayhi, who passed away in 2022, how seriously he took his responsibility as the president of his institute. Even in his old age, when he was almost 87, 88 years old, I was once sitting with him, and he was going through medical issues as well at that age, and he had other issues as well. But even at that age, whatever was presented on his desk for his approval, for his signature, he would read thoroughly from top to bottom. Even if it was something that had 5-6 pages, he would read every single line to make sure that what he is signing on, he is doing his job diligently. And I said to him that even at this age, I'm sure the people, he had secretaries, he had staff who would vet everything very thoroughly before presenting it to him. So I asked him, I said, don't you trust your secretary, your staff? I'm sure they vet everything before they bring it to your desk. He said, yes, I do trust them, but I have accountability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And every single job, every single assignment, every single application that would come before him, he would do his due diligence because he knew he was accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I remember once he was giving there was one contract of a minaret of the new masjid that was being built in Darul Uloom Karachi at that time. Maybe it's about 10 years ago. So there was one bid that came in front of him. So he put the tender out there. There were multiple contractors who put their bids. One bid that came through was cheaper. It was cheaper, but it was from someone who had not worked for Darul Uloom before, who did not present his credentials the way others had. And there was one person, one contractor who had been working in construction projects at that institute for almost 40 to 50 years. So he has a long history, and there's personal relationships and connections as well. And that contractor was sitting right there in the office. So the sheikhs, he had all the bids in front of him, and he said, look, I understand that you have been working here for a long time. I understand that we trust you and we like your work. But this bid that has come before us is way cheaper than your bid. So I want to give it to you, but if I give it to you and I sideline other bids because they are from outside, I will be committing khiyana in the public money that people have trusted us with. And I will be responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So unless you can match their bid or you can beat it, I will be happy to give it to you. Otherwise, I'm obligated to give this contract to someone who is giving it cheaper because this is public money. And we are responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to answer to Him. And I was just looking at him, and I knew, because this contractor had been working for this institute for almost 40 to 50 years. His father and his grandfather worked on projects here too. But still, he undertook his obligation as a leader, as the person who has the responsibility on his shoulders, that much seriously. Even at that age, he would read through every single line before he would sign on an approval on an application. Even if it was something minor, he would make sure that he is doing his job diligently, because that's the burden of leadership, that's the burden of responsibility. The perks that come with it are very attractive and very appealing, but the burden of responsibility that comes with it, very few people in the world, they take that seriously and they fulfill their job as they are supposed to, and they understand their accountability before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something good from a leader, He makes good ministers available to that person. So these good ministers will hold the leader accountable. And if the leader forgets his responsibility, they will remind him. And if he is remembering his responsibility and he's trying to do it, they will help him do it. They will become his helpers. That's what wazir is, a helper of the leader. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want any good coming from a leader, then all the bad people will surround him. All the bad people will be on cabinet posts, and they will be in the cabinet positions, and they will not remind him of his role and his responsibilities. And if he remembers, they will not help him get the job done, because they don't want that person to succeed. This hadith is narrated by al-Mu'mineen Sayyidah Aisha radiyallahu anha, the beloved wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She is one of the most knowledgeable persons and most scholarly persons of this ummah. Without any doubt, she is the top leading female scholar in the history of Islam. But not only a female leading scholar, among the males as well, she is the top ranking scholar in the history of Islam. She learned so much from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her jurisprudence, fiqh. And she was very well versed in all the sciences of Islam, all the sciences of Quran and Hadith. There are two people who benefited greatly from the knowledge of al-Mu'mineen Sayyidah Aisha radiyallahu anha, and both happened to be her nephews. One was her nephew from her brother's side, so her brother's son, and one was her nephew from her sister's side, her sister's son. So one was Qasim bin Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, the grandson of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And the other one was Urwa bin Zubayr radiallahu anh, the grandson of the son of Zubayr radiallahu anh. So these two people, they benefited greatly from the knowledge and the wisdom of al-Mu'mineen Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha, and because of that they became the top ranking scholars as well. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
People don't realize it's not